Ever wonder what secrets the government is hiding just out of sight? Of course you do, that's why you're here. From top secret government military bases to massive underground bunkers, there are hidden locations around the globe that we know exist, but don't exactly know what's going on inside. These are the top 10 hidden government locations you're not supposed to know exist. Raven Rock, often referred to as the Other White House, or the Underground Pentagon, is a highly secretive military installation that everyone knows about. Located in the mountains of Pennsylvania. Officially known as the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, this facility was built as a backup command center for the United States government in the event of a national emergency, primarily nuclear war. It was built during the Cold War to make sure the government could continue operating if things got bad enough. Raven Rock was kept largely under wraps for decades, but thanks to satellite images and the internet, word got around. The complex is a massive underground facility with offices, communication centers, and living quarters, all designed to support high-ranking officials. It's completely fortified against nuclear blasts, making it one of the most secure locations in the country. The facility is connected to the Pentagon via secure communication lines so that they can get immediate responses during emergencies. There's also a rumor that the site has its own power supply so that it can operate totally independently for long stretches of time, which makes sense. This thing was basically built to withstand a nuclear apocalypse. Somewhere in the city of Temra in Morocco is the Temra Interrogation Center, somewhere you'd never want to find yourself. The site was, or possibly still is, a secret prison, officially run by Morocco's intelligence services, but it's believed to operate along with the CIA, especially when it comes to interrogating suspected members of terror groups or political prisoners. The prison is rumored to use some pretty disturbing interrogation tactics. Some former detainees have said that they were told repeatedly that the place was a slaughterhouse and that they'd be leaving in pieces. The Moroccan government denies any claims of physical or psychological torment, saying that they do everything by the book, but that's just not very easy to believe. The US has often outsourced interrogation to its allies. This gives them some wiggle room to deny having anything to do with the practices that go on in these places. Area 51 has been talked about to death, but have you ever heard of Area 6? It's also in the Nevada desert, just a few miles away from the more famous Area 51. Officially, it's used for testing and developing military aircraft, but could there be other stuff going on? The site consists of a long runway with a bunch of large hangars at the end. It's surrounded by a hefty amount of security, and because it's lesser known than Area 51, some believe that Area 6 is the actual location where the US government is doing all its experiments with alien technology. There have been claims of strange lights in the sky and unusual aircraft sightings in the area, which would make sense seeing as it's officially used to test and develop aircraft. Question is though, do they have access to technology from beyond this planet? Good luck finding out. Not only is the area completely off limits, obviously, but even the airspace above it is restricted. Dugway Proving Ground, about 85 miles southwest of Salt Lake City, Utah, is a military installation established in 1942 to test biological and chemical weapons. It's one of the largest military testing grounds in the United States. They conduct tests to defend against biological warfare, developing vaccines and whatnot, but on the other hand, they're also said to develop their own bioweapons. The site has seen its fair share of controversies, particularly concerning safety protocols and the potential for accidents. One of the most infamous incidents happened in 1968, when a nerve agent accidentally escaped the testing facility, resulting in the deaths of thousands of sheep in the surrounding area. The accident was aptly named the Dugway Sheep Incident. Luckily, it was just sheep that were killed, but it's clear that things could have been far worse. It would be great if facilities like this didn't need to exist, but unfortunately, they kind of do, because bioweapons exist and there needs to be some level of preparedness. Mount Yamata is the highest mountain in the southern Urals of Russia. There's rumored to be a secret underground bunker beneath it. Satellite imagery has revealed extensive excavation work in the area since the fall of the Soviet Union, ramping up in the late 90s under Boris Yeltsin's leadership. This construction caught the eye of intelligence analysts who started to wonder what was really happening beneath the mountain. During the Soviet era, 2 military garrisons were established nearby, along with possibly a third one, and these garrisons were later unified into a closed town known as Medjugorje area in 1995. It's estimated that around 30,000 workers are stationed in this town. So exactly what is going on? Well, the Russian government has never given a straight answer, but I mean, why would they? If someone's building something in secret, they tend to be a little shady when questioned about it. They're not just gonna be like, oh, well, you caught us. Here's exactly what we're doing. In a 1996 statement, Russia's defense ministry said that they don't disclose details about facilities like this because it kind of defeats the whole point.
At number 10, Bohemian Grove. The only way you're getting to this super exclusive club is if you're a very powerful man. Bohemian Grove is a private club for the most powerful men in the US, located on a restricted 2,700-acre campground on Bohemian Ave in Monte Rio, California. Every July, its members travel to the grounds for a 2-week retreat to relax and specifically not network. There is little known about what happens during the retreat. One thing powerful men are good at is keeping things hidden. The club's all-male membership includes many artists, musicians, prominent business leaders, government officials, former presidents, and senior media executives. Members are also allowed to bring guests and even rent out the grounds for its off-season private events. If your interest has been sparked, good luck getting anywhere near Bohemian Grove. It's protected by security year-round, with the club employing ex-military personnel to secure the area. They also utilize high-end equipment like thermal cameras and vibration sensing alarm systems. Some presidents that have visited are George Bush, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. Basically, there's no chance of getting in unless you have some pretty important friends. Number 9, the Coca-Cola Vault. Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. The corporation was founded in 1892, so the recipe has been around for over 120 years. It definitely has undergone some tweaks since the 1800s, but now it doesn't contain illegal substances, so it really only changed for the better. The secret formula is located inside World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia. While you can absolutely visit the museum itself, showcasing the history of the company, the actual vault that holds the formula is off limits. The actual recipe is located inside of a metal box inside of a 6.6-foot high vault, which is then further protected by a barrier, and the entire area has surveillance with armed guards. The door to the vault can only be opened by a keypad with a hand scanner. It sounds a bit extreme to take all these measures over the recipe for Coke, but with the company bringing in over $42 billion in 2022, the extra security makes total sense. I never thought about seeing the formula of Coke, but now that I know it's in a highly guarded fancy safe, I've never wanted to see something more. Number 8, Granite Mountain Records Vault. The world's largest collection of genealogical records lives in a secure vault located quite literally in the mountains near Salt Lake City, Utah. The Granite Mountain Records Vault was built in 1965 by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of the vault is to preserve and protect records of importance to the church, like its vast collection of family history microfilms. This is an extremely secure facility with no public access allowed. What we do know is that it's home to 2.4 million rolls of microfilm containing approximately 3.5 billion images of family history records. I guess when the Mormon Church says they're a family-centered faith, they aren't kidding. The church is collecting all of these microfilmed images in order to digitize them and turn them into digital records available through FamilySearch.org. Some people think there is more going on in that facility than we're being told, with conspiracy theories and suspicions surrounding the whole operation. The vault is located under 700 feet of solid mountain stone with 3 tunnels and 4 cross tunnels inside, spanning over 65,000 square feet. They also have reinforced entrance doors that weigh 14 tons each and were said to be able to withstand a nuclear blast. These factors are what really led people to being skeptical of their operations because A, that's a lot of room for converting microfilms, B, that's a lot of security for the names of the deceased, and C, more recent images of the vault seem to show they've expanded the facility to now have 5 entrances instead of 3. Some thoughts surrounding what else is stored there are significant artifacts, ancient relics, or even a bunker. Maybe the expansion is just for expanding operations, but who knows, maybe they really are hiding something else in that vault. At number 7, Area 51. The widely known name refers to that of a highly classified United States Air Force facility located in Nevada, which is highly prohibited to those without authorization. The fact that it's a government facility that is super off limits and highly guarded has led people to famously associate Area 51 with aliens. For decades now, the facility has been the eye of a conspiracy theory storm, with people convinced that aliens and their technology actually exists behind its walls. Being told you can't go somewhere or that something is a secret only makes you more interested to know about it. There have been many books, TV shows, and even plans online for massive raids trying to get a glimpse of what lies beyond the very prominent warning signs, to no success. Upon looking at Area 51, it appears like the only protection against unwanted guests is the many warning signs, but apparently not a single thing goes unnoticed. Beyond the gates, cameras see every angle, watching everything below. Locals say the base knows every desert tortoise and jackrabbit that hops the fence. No matter how interested you may be, only a select few have access to what goes on there, causing so many theories and speculations. Who knows, maybe it's alien experiments, maybe it's the most mundane, boring work we could ever imagine. Either way, we aren't going to be finding out anytime soon. Number 6. Cheyenne Mountain Complex. It's located at Cheyenne Mountain Air Force Station, or CMAF, within the Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The CMAF falls under Air Force Base Command and hosts the activities of several tenant units. At the height of the Cold War, the idea of a hardened command center was thought of as a defense against long-range Soviet bombers. The Army Corps of Engineers supervised the excavation of Cheyenne Mountain and the construction of an operational center. The facility became fully operational as the NORAD Combat Operations Center in early 1967. Since it's a big old place for government stuff, Cheyenne Mountain Complex is protected and closed to the public. It's located under 2,000 feet of granite with 6 tunnels, each 3 stories tall. It's also secured against seismic activity and nuclear explosions. So basically, it's pretty high on the list of places I would like to be during a zombie apocalypse. It has 2 main blast doors which are 3.5 feet thick and weigh over 20 tons. These massive doors close in times of emergency and have only been shut once during 9/11. Since this complex is home to so many important operations like a space control center and national warning facility, it's locked and guarded to the nines. That being said, since we know some of what's going on down there, it's far less desirable to visit.
Number 10. The Hollywood Sign, California. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I bring up the Hollywood Sign. Now, you might be confused, it's a huge tourist attraction. Yes, it is, but there are areas around the sign that are prohibited. The closest you can get to the sign is behind and above it, where you can enjoy the fabulous view of the city. Why can't you get up right and personal though? Well, the sign is on a rough, steep terrain, so there are barriers to prevent unauthorized access. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Police Department actually installed a security system featuring motion detection and closed-circuited cameras. Any movement in the marked restricted areas triggers an alarm that notifies the police, therefore you cannot touch the sign. This place is heavily surveilled as it's monitored 24/7 by the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments and park rangers. Although some people have gotten through security to vandalize the sign. I mean, does anyone remember Hollyweed on January 1st, 2017? Despite that though, it remains mostly prohibited. Number 9. Roberts Island, Suffolk County, New York. Located just off of Long Island, this private island is not only extremely valuable, it's impossible to access. The 435-acre teardrop of land belongs to billionaire businessman Louis Bacon and is thought to be worth around $500 million. He purchased it in 1993 at the bankruptcy court auction for $11 million. He has made significant investments into restoring the neglected island, going so far as to import full-grown oak trees to replace ones harvested for lumber years later. Some non-native grasses were removed from the island and replaced, and hunters reduced an overgrown deer population. The island also has the healthiest turtle population in the state, which includes the eastern mud turtle. Lewis has spent years rebuilding the ecosystem, and he believes that allowing others on the island will lead to its destruction, so no one can visit. And I mean, that is a pretty good reason, no? Number 8. Lascaux Caves, France. Lascaux Caves is a network of caves near the village of Montigny. Over 600 wall paintings cover the interior walls and ceilings of the cave. The paintings represent primarily large animals, typical local contemporary fauna that correspond with the fossil record of the Upper Paleolithic in the area. They are the combined effort of many generations, and with continued debate, the age of the paintings is now usually estimated at around 17,000 years. They're beautiful beautiful, but unfortunately the cave was sealed to the common public following 1963 in order to preserve the site, which is listed as a World Heritage Site by the UNESCO. However, in order to allow everyone to admire the masterpieces of prehistory, a reconstruction of the Leto site has been made so you can do a virtual tour, which is still pretty cool. Archaeologists concluded that human proximity might ruin the ancient work of art, so you can only enjoy it through your screen. Number 7. The Whites Club, UK. Okay, so men can enter this place, but women can't. And if you're non-binary, I don't really know what to tell you. At White's, the club is so exclusive that few have ever managed to sneak inside and find out what really goes on in there. There are incredibly certain places in the world where women are forbidden access, the best known probably being gentlemen's clubs, which are very popular within British culture. Founded in 1693 and located at 37 St. James Street in Piccadilly, the members of the Whites Club include political leaders, senior bankers, and even heirs to the British throne, so yeah, Prince William is a part of this club. The restriction on women is so strict, only the late Queen Elizabeth has ever managed to gain entry, but I mean, she was the queen, it's not like they could have said no. According to the Telegraph in 2013, David Cameron voluntarily left the select club, saying, "I'm dismayed the club does not accept women as members. I find that inexplicable in this day and age, I really do." The members of London's oldest and most elitist gentlemen's club has shrunk to 500, and its bar has been open for over 200 years. Number 6. Doomsday Vault, Norway. The Doomsday Vault is a seed bank located in the middle of the Arctic Svalbard archipelago. There are 3 vaults leading off from the chamber, but only one is currently in use, and its door is covered in a thick layer of ice, hinting at the sub-zero temperatures inside. In here, the seeds are stored in vacuum-packed silver packets and test tubes in large boxes that are neatly stacked on floor-to-ceiling shelves. These boxes potentially hold the keys to the future of global food security. These seeds are here in case of a catastrophic event. Now, over the past 50 years, agricultural practices have changed dramatically, but while crop yields have increased, biodiversity has decreased to the point that now only about 30 crops provide 95% of human food energy needs. The US has lost over 90% of its fruit and vegetable varieties since the 1900s. This monoculture nature of agriculture leaves food supplies more susceptible to threats such as diseases and drought. Due to all this, the vault isn't open to the public, and it can allow entry to special guests, but only on certain days. Number 5. Isle Grand Shrine, Japan. Japan is known worldwide for its shrine culture and has nearly 80,000 shrines in total. The most prominent out of all is the Isle Grand Shrine. It's one of the most expensive temples in Japan, credited to its architectural magnificence. To keep the Shinto traditions, which go back to the 8th century, this temple is reconstructed once every 20 years. That's why this temple is so expensive. Only members of the royal family are granted access to this prestigious ancient representation sacred to the Japanese. Due to this, the general public is not allowed beyond the sight of the thatched roofs of the central structures hidden behind 4 tall wooden fences. Number 4. North Brother Island. North Brother Island is a small island located in New York City's East River between the mainland Bronx and Rikers Island. Now, not only is this island forbidden, it's also hidden, overrun by weeds, and unsafe for the public. Plus, its sensitive ecosystem is much safer without visitors. This dystopian-looking island was abandoned 50 years ago, but prior to that, in the mid-19th century, North Brother Island was filled with people. At this time in history, disease and illness were rampant in New York, and this isolated island was the perfect location for the sick to be quarantined. Riverside Hospital was relocated there and had been founded in the 1850s as the smallpox hospital to treat and isolate victims of that disease. Its mission eventually expanded to other quarantinable diseases. Now, the island was also the site of a wreck of the General Slocum, a steamship that burned in 1904, where 1,021 people died either from fire on board the ship or from drowning before the ship beached on the island shores. Safe to say, this island has seen a lot of horrors, so much that it has been nicknamed Hell's Gate for its dangerous waters and is rightfully off limits. Number 3. Surtsey Island, Iceland. Surtsey is a small island situated on the south coast of Iceland. It was created as a consequence of a volcanic explosion that continued for 4 years. Surtsey is also known globally for being the newest island on the globe. It was formed just 55 years ago, which meant scientists had the unique opportunity to observe the birth and evolution of an ecosystem from scratch. This fascinating event is precisely what makes its access restricted to the rest of the world. It all began in 1963 when a violent volcanic eruption 32 kilometers south of Iceland resulted in the formation of Surtsey. Bacteria, fungi, and molds were the first to arrive on the island. Subsequently, the number of animal and plant species increased exponentially. According to UNESCO, it's estimated that around 89 species of birds and 335 invertebrates populate the area. In order to not alter this development, only researchers are allowed to visit the island, which again makes a lot of sense. They want to protect this island, but the whole idea of this is just really cool. Number 2. Snake Island, Brazil. As per the name, Snake Island is an island in Brazil packed with thousands of poisonous snakes. Yep, just load it up all in there. No human even dares to risk their life stepping on Snake Island, and if you were to try, you'd be stupid. Snake Island has a reputation as the most forbidden place in the world, not only in Brazil. This place is so deadly that the government has announced it's prohibited by law to step onto the island. It's calculated that there are nearly 4,000 golden laceheads crawling around the island. These are the most poisonous serpents known on Earth. So even if you were able to go on the island, you'd probably get bitten by a snake and die, which I feel like isn't worth it. I know I wouldn't risk it. And I mean, if a snake doesn't hurt you, the government will, as it's illegal to go there, so neither of those sounds like a good option. Plus, who wants to go to a place called Snake Island? Please, stay away from there. And coming in at number 1, North Sentinel Island, India. North Sentinel Island is one of the most forbidden places in the world. It is where the Sentinelese tribe resides. The people occupying the island usually resolve to violence to keep their isolation still ongoing. The Sentinelese tribe have existed on the island for more than 50,000 years as per the protection given by the Indian government. This island is stringently forbidden for any visitors of any kind. Throughout history, encounters with the population have been met with violence. In 2006, they ended the lives of 2 fishermen whose boat had been dragged by the current on their shores. According to The Guardian, a 3-mile restriction zone prevents visitors from entering the territory. And according to Survival, an NGO for the rights of indigenous and tribal peoples, the Indian government has abandoned any plans to contact the Sentinels. The entire tribe could be wiped out by diseases to which they have no immunity, which is why authorities respect their wish to remain uncontacted.
At number 5, Tillamook Rock Lighthouse. Located on the northern Oregon coast of the United States, also known as Terrible Tilly or just Tilly, this is one lighthouse that you can't visit. Tilly gained its nickname from the ferocious storms and difficulties facing the lighthouse keepers. Tillamook Rock rises nearly 100 feet from the sea and is located 20 miles south of the mouth of the Columbian River. Building the lighthouse in the first place was rough. The first person hired to take on the project was master mason and lighthouse builder John Trewavis. Unfortunately, John ended up being swept out to sea after falling off the rock before he could get far. After this incident, craftsmen were reluctant to work on the lighthouse, but construction foreman Charles Valentine stepped up with a crew of 8. Once on the rock, the men worked under horrible conditions. One day the wind was so bad it swept away their supply house and left workers stranded for 16 days. After preparing the rock, the construction of Tilly took over 100 days to complete. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse began operations in January 1881. With a starting budget of just $50,000, Tilly cost closer to $125,000 in the end. Duty at Tillamook Rock meant isolation, horrible storms, and hazardous environment. On top of that, supplies sent to the rock were often delayed for days or even weeks. It was decommissioned in 1957 due to the extensive wear and tear. The lighthouse has bounced between a few private owners since shutting off its light. Even if you wanted to visit Tilly today, you'd have to resort to a helicopter because of the harsh waters. The rock is even off limits to its owners come time for the seabird nesting season. At number 4, Dulce Base. Like Area 51, Dulce Base is the subject of conspiracy theories claiming that a jointly operated human and alien underground facility exists. Apparently, the facility lies under the Archuleta Mesa Mountain on the Colorado-New Mexico border near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. On the surface, Dulce is just your average small town, so small it doesn't even have a single traffic light. According to the bizarre claims, the small town is just the tip of the iceberg. The alleged massive underground facility facility is said to be home to unimaginable experiments and technologies. For the extreme alien believers, we are all overlooking a high-tech world full of aliens. According to the conspiracy theorists, the Dulce subterranean base is a 7-story compound that houses human-animal hybrids, human-alien hybrids, and extremely advanced technologies. It is possible that it's all made up, but if the government really was experimenting with aliens, it would make sense that they do it under a mountain near a very small town. One thing I find interesting about the Dulce base is that these theories are not new. First claims of the base's existence date all the way back to the 1930s. The rumors of alien intervention didn't start up until the 70s when a former state police trooper named Gabe Valdez documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area. There have also been claims of UFO sightings and other paranormal activity in the area over the years. Secret aliens or not, it sounds like there's definitely something strange going on in Dulce that I don't want to look any further into. Number 3. Fort Knox. I bet you've heard at least once in your life someone make a reference to something being harder to get into than Fort Knox, and there's a reason for this. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky, south of Louisville. The reason it's so hard to get into Fort Knox is because of the Bullion Depository, a fortified vault located adjacent to the Fort Knox Army Post. It's operated by the United States Mint Police, and it's super well known for its physical security. The depository was built back in 1936 and is operated by the United States Department of the Treasury. The excessive security is in place because it's home to over half the entire country's gold reserves. Early shipments of gold totaling almost 13,000 metric tons were escorted by combat cars to the depository. In the past, it's also been home to other precious items like the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Fort Knox is so heavily protected and secure that the vicinity is off limits to visitors. Even the president has limitations. In fact, only one president has ever been allowed entry, and that was Franklin Roosevelt back in 1943. Along with the heavy-duty physical barriers and fences, the government pays $5 million annually just for security. Number 2. North Brother Island. This tiny island in New York City is located smack dab in the middle of the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was the site of the infamous Riverside Hospital for quarantinable diseases. If you've ever heard of Typhoid Mary, this is the place where she spent her final days and finally succumbed to her namesake illness in 1938. After World War II, the island was repurposed as housing for veterans and their families. Then it transitioned to being a rehabilitation center for adolescent substance use, which ended up closing in the 60s amid allegations of fraud. After being home to many dark but important facilities, the entire North Brothers Island was closed permanently to the public and became a bird sanctuary. That being said, photographer Christopher Payne was able to go to the island in 2006 after being granted access by the New York City Department of Recreation. The photos he captured of the island are a little haunting, especially with its history of rehab centers and hospitals for the disease. These photos are interesting to see, but do not make me want to visit the abandoned island even if I could. The whole place looks like it's been taken over by, well, birds, and it's crazy that it's so close to the hustle and bustle of the city. Many people have stepped foot on the North Brother Island over the years, but now the only way to get a glimpse is through Payne's photos or if you have wings and a beak. And at number 1, Niihau Island. This island has been privately owned for over 100 years with only an estimated 170 residents. The invite-only island sparked so much interest from travelers across the world due to its extreme exclusivity, commonly referred to as Hawaii's Forbidden Island. It is the westernmost main and 7th largest inhabited island in all of Hawaii. Niihau is also a crucial habitat for some endangered plant species. The island was purchased by Elizabeth St. Clair in 1864 for just $10,000, which would be the equivalent to about $170,000 in 2021. St. Clair purchased it from the Kingdom of Hawaii, and the ownership has been passed down for generations, currently belonging to her grandsons, the Robinson brothers. The island is off limits to all outsiders unless the brothers Bruce and Keith personally invite you for a visit. The people of Niihau are noted for their remarkable craftsmanship and mainly speak in Hawaiian. The reason they have kept the island off limits to the outside world is due to a promise made to a former Hawaiian king. The promise was to protect the island from the mainland and the rest of the world to maintain the beloved heritage, and that's exactly what they've done. To this day, Niihau has rejected the use of modern technologies and survives without electricity, running water, internet, doors, restaurants, paved roads, or cars. A modern-day ancient civilization. It would be fascinating to see how they do things over on Niihau, but it's nice to know they've kept their promise for so long.
Important Down is a science and defence technology campus in Wiltshire, England. It's home to the UK's Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, which has operated for over a century, and it's one of the country's most secretive military research facilities. Its controversial reputation dates back to World War I, when Allied forces were shocked by the advanced German nerve agents, so the UK set out to develop its own. By the end of the Second World War, Down focused on arming the UK with nerve agents while also developing defenses against them. The facility has come up against some serious allegations of unethical human experimentation, though. One infamous case is that of leading aircraftman Ronald Madison, who died in 1953 after being subjected to sarin nerve agent tests. Over the years, it's estimated that up to 20,000 people participated in various trials at Down. The site is also known for its connection to the development of CS gas, a riot control agent, especially during the period of unrest in Northern Ireland. In more recent years, Down played a big role in analyzing the Novichok nerve agent used in the 2018 Salisbury poisonings. Again, work like this is essential, but with the secrecy surrounding the facility, it's hard not to wonder what else could be going on. Detention Site Green, often referred to as the Cat's Eye, once, or possibly still does, operate in an undisclosed area somewhere in Thailand. Once again, it was jointly operated by the CIA and the Thai government. It became infamous for its brutal interrogation methods, but the Thai government has consistently denied having any involvement. Detainees have been held in coffin-sized boxes for hours, waterboarded repeatedly, some have said up to 100 times in a single month, walling, where you're slammed against a wall repeatedly, sleep deprivation, and methods of humiliation have all been used. A 2014 Senate report described these methods as inhumane and pointed out that they yielded little useful information. By the end of 2002, reports began to surface about the existence of this facility, and it was closed down, with prisoners just being transferred to another black site in Poland. Tucked away in the Australian outback near Alice Springs, Pine Gap is officially known as the Joint Defence Facility Pine Gap. It's run by both the US and Australian governments. The facility has this collection of massive satellite dishes for high-tech communication and surveillance. Officially, it focuses on intelligence gathering, satellite tracking, and missile detection. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Ever since the site was built, it's been surrounded by controversy. In 1975, a private plane flying near Pine Gap's airspace had a bit of a bizarre incident. The pilot and passengers spotted this large white object taking off from the base at an incredible speed. After landing, they were apparently told by investigators to forget what they saw and never speak about it. Obviously they did, and there have been rumors and conspiracies about what's really going on at the facility ever since. Some think that Pine Gap is a testing ground for advanced military technology, similar to Area 51. It would make sense after all, the remote Australian outback would be pretty ideal for testing drones and aircraft. There's also talk about the facility possibly being involved in cyber warfare, developing strategies to defend against hacking and disrupting enemy systems. Really, what this place is most likely for is its role in operating spy satellites. Given that it's jointly run by the CIA and Australian intelligence, and because the facility has all this sophisticated technology, it's highly possible that it's just used for gathering intel on foreign military activity. And, of course, possible alien research. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex is officially a military installation that serves as a command center for NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command. The complex is carved right into the side of a mountain, making it super fortified against everything from nuclear attacks to natural disasters. Seriously, they designed this place to withstand a 30 megaton nuclear explosion from about a mile away. The facility has been operational since the 60s, which is fitting because it really is like something out of a spy movie. There's this massive steel door that weighs 25 tons protecting the high-tech operations inside. Supposedly, the place is equipped with advanced communication systems, allowing military leaders to coordinate defense strategies in real time. While most of us will never get a peek inside, the complex does have a fascinating history. It's been involved in tracking potential threats to North America and has had its fair share of close calls during the Cold War. The facility isn't used as much today, apparently, but it's still there. The Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center in Virginia is another one of the government's secret bunkers for when things go sideways. Officially, it was built so the government can continue operating in case of a national emergency. Located in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Mount Weather is a self-sufficient facility that can house high-ranking government officials and military personnel if total chaos was ever to ensue. It's packed with everything from advanced communication systems to medical facilities. The place was almost a complete secret, that is until 1974 when it was mentioned in the Washington Post and the Associated Press after a plane crashed into the facility. The public doesn't know a ton about what happens inside Mount Weather though, but there are plenty of conspiracy theories. Some people believe it's used for shady, classified government projects, which I guess is the case. All that said though, I've been your host James. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. These locations were truly some of the best and true peek behind the window of what is truly going on in the world. Do you want to peek behind the curtain even further? Check out this video next. It's real-life glitches in the Matrix. Yes, we are proving we are living in a giant simulation and it's time to break free. Click the video now.